Wow. The longer I live, the more dumb I find out people are. And it gives me great inspiration to know that I'm the only person talking logic. And that's why you guys are going to listen to me and I'll be here forever. Because Tucker Carlson essentially said that the theory of evolution was wrong. And when trying to provide a reason on Joe Rogan's podcast on why evolution was wrong, he basically said that organisms adapt and you see adaptation, but there is no actual evolution. And he never went on to really explain why there is no evolution. And you know what's crazy? This is the stance most Americans take. This is the stance of most people in this fucking planet. Most people don't believe in the idea of evolution. You know why they can't believe in the idea of evolution? Because most people don't have logical thinking brains. Most people are basically special ed kids, or they're basically human dogs walking around that can speak English. Like, most people, I really hate to tell you guys this, but when you're looking around and you're talking to people and you're kind of reasoning with them, what you begin to understand is most human beings are essentially like half alive. They're functionally illiterate, as my friend Thought put it. So when the average human being is functionally illiterate, what you begin to understand is they cannot comprehend information at the same way that you comprehend information. And so this explains how Tucker Carlson was able to rise the ranks in the world while not believing in the way of evolution. Because if you could simply look at a teleprompter and read things and read off a keynote and just talk about controversial things, you can make it in America. It's that easy. And let's get into why evolution is so hard for everybody to fucking understand. See, when you take evolution, and this is coming from a science teacher, I had to admit to you guys, I was a biology major and a science teacher. Now, I am not like backing science and biology simply because I majored in it. I work as a handyman, so I have no stake in the game as far as being a science major. There's no stake for me. There's no benefit of me going out here and trying to shield biology to you. But what I began to learn is it teaches you a method of thinking. And see, most people don't utilize the scientific method for examining problems and figuring out and trying to understand the universe. They look at the science and they say this is like a Bible, and these science people, they believe in their science Bible, and I believe in God. And like God created everything that's on the planet and he just made it happen. And I say, okay, well, we got several questions when it comes to this God thing. Which God? We talking about the Islam God? We talking about the Greek gods? We talking about the Egyptian gods? We talking about the Norse gods? What gods are we talking about? Because there's several thousand, hundred that have existed throughout time in human history. India has like fucking 100 of them. So which God are we talking about? That's the first question. Second question is, if God was able to create the universe, then who created God? Because if you tell me that God has always existed, why can the universe just always existed? So that's a paradox in itself, and I don't have the answers for that. I think no human being has the answer. It's something beyond our reasoning and understanding, and it's just one of those things you're just never going to know. And I'm perfectly fine with understanding that and accepting that particular paradox. And that's the beauty of life. Life is just a whole bunch of paradox. But we get to the common misphrases of why people say evolution is not real. Well, one of the most common phrases that I hear from people why evolution is not real is, if humans came from monkeys, why are monkeys still here? And I go, my God, my fucking God. That's like asking, if the iPhone 15 came from the iPhone 3, why is the iPhone 3 still here? And you have to think to yourself, why is the iPhone 3 still here? Because it didn't come from the fucking iPhone 3. An iPhone 3 did not magically become an iPhone 15. There was a change. There's new technology that was added, new adaptations, and we got into an iPhone 4, iPhone 5, iPhone 6, iPhone 7. They're all different iterations of phones. Now, we don't make iPhone 2s anymore, but they still exist because some people are still using them and charging. But we don't make iPhone 2s anymore. iPhone 15s exist because we currently use an iPhone 16. Humans exist because humans are not the same as monkeys. Monkeys are not the same as humans. Now, we share similarities, but they come back to a common ancestor that split off at some point. So a monkey is not a human is not a monkey. They did not come from each other, but it's like a branch. Let me get over here. I'm going to show you. Humans, monkeys, they come and bam, there was a common ancestor at this point. This is the common ancestor between the monkey and the human. That something happened at this point that made them go off into their own divergent path. It's like, and this is the shit that confuses people because they don't understand all life is fundamentally the same. We all come from one original organism, one original thing, which is like some single cell thing. That single cell thing was created through organic chemistry. And once again, this is going deep into fucking information and education that most of you guys would never understand because there's particular principles in chemistry, physics that make certain reactions happen. And they cause polarity within certain parts, and it builds a molecule. Like I can try to explain this to my fucking heart is blue, but most of you guys are not gonna understand what makes a fucking cell membrane, what makes a cell wall, why these things exist, how mitochondria are formed, what mitochondria is made of. I could talk this shit forever. You'll never get it because it takes so long to study and understand. Because so many people have dedicated their lives to pretty much discovering. Writing out papers that nobody gives a fuck to read, so you can learn this shit in school, so you can reject it and say that we all came from a goddamn single God who just said, "Make there be light." And that's what motherfuckers believe. And it saddens me that somehow a man as rich and influential as Tucker Carlson was able to go on live podcast and try to say that evolution does not real. Evolution theory was wrong and not be able to give a reason why it's wrong. And it was amazing. I was sitting there watching this shit. I'm like, wow. Humans are fucking retarded. Functionally illiterate. That's the term for our current predicament in time. Humans are functionally illiterate. Like a functional drunk or a functional crack addict. We can do most of our jobs without having to be able to read. And because we can't read, we go out there and we say stupid shit because we don't have the ability to like come up with actual theories ourselves. Because one of the things you have to understand about what a theory is in science, and this is what people always say, well, it's just a theory. And if it's just a theory, that means it's not actually real. And they don't understand. A theory in science is not like what a theory is in outside of science. A theory in science is a hypothesis that has been tested multiple times by like years and years and years by multiple different scientists and people, and the data all comes back overwhelmingly in favor of the hypothesis being correct or being true. And to prove that evolution is not real, all you would need is one single proof of evidence, and that would basically dispel. Because in science, we always leave the ability for a falsehood to prove something is not correct. And so after all these years of scientists and people trying to figure out and disprove evolution, not a single person has ever come up with a single test, a single experiment to show that evolution does not make sense and has been dispelled. Overwhelmingly, we have been able to discover, we've been able to find that organisms change over time according to external circumstances that force the organisms to change. If not, they will die and they do not pass on their genetic code. That's all it is. It's like saying humans that, like say for example, it gets really, really hot outside. And white people can't go outside because they get sun ray and they'll get cancer and they end up dying. So what happens is everybody naturally gets darker because the only people that survive are the darker people because they can tolerate the sun. So if over 100 generations, what you'll start to notice is the human genome, people got much darker. And the reason people got much darker is because they were able to live in the sun compared to the people who cannot live in the sun because the sun was burning to a crisp. They can't go out and can't get food. And as a result, you don't see any white people within this particular region. This might be known as the equator. You look on the equator, most of the people who live on the equator tend to be dark-skinned. Most of the people who live further away from the equator tend to be light-skinned or fair complexion. You know why this is the case? Because there is genetic advantages to having certain skin colors in certain regions of the planet because it allows you to survive easier. And this is like life, man. It is so insane to me that in 2024 we still got evolution deniers. It's beyond my understanding. And like my last thing, like saying evolution is not real, is essentially like trying to say like when you say like, okay, evolution, that's not real, everything just came as it is. That's basically like saying the Bible was just dropped complete and full, just dropped in the fucking middle of nowhere spontaneously. As opposed to the idea, which is somebody was walking around, they came up with the idea of like the thought of a creation story to explain all the phenomena and things that they saw. And over time, we started to develop language, and that language was able to pass down to next generations. And eventually, as we start to create language, we were able to kind of transcribe by writing. We created a written language, and then we learned how to create paper, and then we learned how to transcribe our ideas on the paper. And somebody thought it was a good idea to put the creation story that they heard from long many legacies ago, to put that on a piece of paper, bind it up, and create a book known as the Bible. Somebody will say, no, that doesn't make any sense. You're trying to tell me that human beings just thought in their head that there was a whole creation story, and then they put it on paper, and I got the book today. You tell me that's how the book got created? No, the Bible just came out of nowhere. It just plopped. And it came here, and then we picked it up. And that's what most of you dummies think. That's how most of you guys think that life came to be. Somebody just fucking plopped life here, and it was always this way. Despite the overwhelming evidence that more likely than not, that's not how that played out. But anyway, appreciate you guys for listening. Thank you. I'm trying to find logic and reason in mathematics. God damn it. Watch Dr. Stone. Dr. Stone might help a lot of you people.